Hi guys, my name's Daniel Hughes, and I'm really happy to be here to do with Coptrz to be one of the new ambassadors for photography and for drones. My background, well, I've had a pretty interesting 15-ish years. I've done lots of things, from flying with the Air Force as a cadet pilot at university. I spent 7 years in the reserve SAS, which took me all over the world. I've raced for Great Britain in 2 world championships in duathlon, so running and cycling, run, cycle, run. And that also has led me to ride for a professional race team. And that is where my kind of photographic or commercial photographic journey first sort of started. I've always been that person getting my phone out, annoying my wife and all that sort of stuff, taking photographs of everything. I just literally just can't help myself. I just get really excited about the smallest of things. And when I was riding for that pro race team, it was sponsored by Pinarello. It was one of 4 pro race teams in the world sponsored by Pinarello, and they are basically like the Ferrari of racing bikes. And I was going around the world because I'm also an airline pilot for a major commercial airline. And they said, "Hey, Daniel, can you get some shots when you're away? Like, you go to so many different places." And last year I went to over 40 destinations around the world, not just with work, but also through photography. And I now do like multi-week commercial shoots as well. And they said, "Hey, can you get some shots?" And so I started taking my smaller camera with me in my jersey. And then they said, "Hey, do you have any high resolution images?" And I was like, "Right, well, what do you need me to carry? Do you want me to carry my SLR?" And now I ride with an SLR on my back. I carry a tripod and a rucksack, and I also have my drone with me all the time. I've got a little bar bag which goes in my handlebars, and I can carry my drone with an extra battery. So I've got 2 batteries in my drone. So in essence, I am like a one-man band content machine producing drone shots, SLR shots, and these shots which I'm taking are now actually being used by some of the world's largest cycling brands like Shimano, Garmin, Strava, 100%. I place images in articles, and also I sell them commercially as well. The most I've ever sold one image for is for £1,200, and that was for one usage for a big digital and print ad campaign for Shimano. So if you have the right shot and it looks absolutely banging, there's definitely money to be made. And I'm here to hopefully share some secrets and to tell you a bit more about how my journey kind of started a bit further, especially with drones. Actually, it's a really nice story. And also, I'm going to talk a bit more about the courses which I hope to bring to Coptrz to take your images to the next level and to be a really successful commercial drone pilot. How did I get into photography? That is a good question. I have always been the person in the group with a camera taking photographs, which is not that I'm vain. It's actually kind of annoying that I never get any photographs with me in them. I've been taking photographs for as long as I can remember. The first digital camera I bought was at university back in 2001. That was a 0.5 megapixel camera by Sony, and it cost £500. It was really expensive, but was pretty much the only kind of digital camera out at the time. So I've been taking photographs for as long as I can remember. When I go away on a trip, I take between 1,000 and 2,000 photographs. So the shutter count, if you know stuff like that, on my cameras is just sort of out there. In terms of the number of images I put into my Google Drive last year, put over 8,000 images into there for my partners. And as a rule of thumb, 8,000, I would have taken well in excess of 100,000 photographs. That 1,000, which I might take, in fact, actually, it's probably near a million, maybe, is the like when I take 1,000 photographs on the weekend. Out of all of those, maybe only 50 or 60 would be usable. So it's kind of like 1 in 20 will actually be usable. And that's even with me thinking about the composition and like me actually really thinking about the shot itself. So, which is again a bad thing about digital photography, in that digital photography, you can be far more experimental than with like a traditional film camera. You can be far more sort of careless, if that's the right word. But that's great for you and it's great for me because like you can just take photographs and not worry about the costs. You've got the limit is your battery, the limit is your memory card, and the limit is you and your energy. So digital cameras are utterly fantastic. But every now and again, I will get a film camera out because actually, every one of those shots is precious. So you really think about the composition, the light, like making sure that that's just perfect because you don't have many of them. So yeah, I've been taking photographs for a long time, even on my iPhone, constantly snapping. Totally can't help myself. What can I say? I just love it. So how did I get into drones? As I said in the first question, I'm always on my bike trying to take photographs, or just in general trying to take photographs. And but with social media, with my partners, taking photographs is great, and absolutely that is 100% what I concentrate on. But the ability to take video was starting to become more important. And the idea of not being able to capture movement when I was away, and some of these mountains are enormous. The one in Valle Nevado in Chile, you climb 3,000 meters on a bike, and then you get to the summit, and the mountains are 2,500 meters above you still. It's in the Andes. It's incredible. So I wanted to try and capture motion, and I have done that. But a bit like before, in that because you need someone to kind of do it for you, I didn't end up really using the video as much as I can, and the kind of auto follow functions only worked up to, I think it's like 21 miles an hour or somewhere around that. And you can imagine on a bicycle, the top speed I've been on my bike is almost 70 miles an hour on a bike. Definitely don't want to come off at those sort of speeds. And the story about drone, where it really became a useful tool to me, is actually when I was down in Rio de Janeiro. I was down there on a partner shoot, a brand called Hexa, which make 3D printed helmets. And I'd gone out and I deliberately wanted to go and shoot some material for them in around the ocean, because it's very, very beautiful, the beaches there. And also on the Olympic course, you have these massive kind of rollers with big reveals, like super, super pretty, like exposed rock and lush. And so I went out and went to go and set up my tripod with my SLR. I'm the master of like ride past selfies. And then I had my camera, I had my tripods, and then I looked underneath the camera, and the camera didn't have the tripod hot plate, which is what you need to mount onto the tripod. And you can imagine I was pretty annoyed. And I'd ridden quite a long way to get to this point as well. I was like, I can't not get any photographs from this. So I just like packed it all away and thought, right, well, I knew the drone has an auto function in terms of you can set it up to take a picture every 2 seconds. If you're in kind of in JPEG mode, it's every 5 seconds if it's in RAW. So I was like, right, well, I'm just going to use my drone as the ultimate selfie tool. I'm going to go down to the rocks to try and get a close-up picture of myself using the drone. And I'm just sharing my screen with you now. So you can see the picture which I took with the drone. And the drone was hovering about 5 feet away from me. So it was very, very close. I literally positioned it where I wanted it and just had it taking auto shots of me. The picture is a bit posery, but obviously I was there to highlight the helmet. But you can see just how good the quality is of this photograph. It's a DJI Mavic 2 Pro drone, 24 megapixels, 1-inch sensor. And I got that back and I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, like the quality of this drone or of the camera is exceptional. And this photograph actually ran on their website for months and months and months and months. It is that good. And that's when the drone really became useful to me. And I think with having a drone or even like taking photograph in general, you need an outlet for it. Like you need a real purpose to use that drone. Otherwise it becomes a toy which you might use occasionally. And this was it. This completely changed what a drone would mean to me and to my commercial photography. It was an absolute game changer. And I'm so happy that I left that hot plate at home. So I guess for me, the penny kind of dropped in that. So I was riding for this pro race team. I was taking some photographs. They were really enjoying them because of the number of places I was going to. And then they started using them on their Instagram channels and actually even sort of put them on their websites. And then the penny massively dropped. That actually, I do have this really unusual lifestyle in that I travel a lot. I love my photography. I love the outdoors. I love bikes. I mean, I just love taking photographs, and I should really concentrate on this. And then of June, just about 2 years ago, this June coming up, I said to myself, right, I'm absolutely going to immerse myself into this world, into Instagram, into working with outdoor brands such like Garmin, Strava, Shimano, etc. And I'm just going to go all in, basically. So I was never going to post an iPhone shot on my Instagram again. I was always going to use an SLR camera. I was always going to use a drone and then make sure that all images were post-edited. And then I was not only going to have like retained partners, so all the brands I work with on retained partnerships, so they pay me over the year. But also I was then going to reach out to other brands to see if they would be interested in some commercial photographs. And now, excitingly, actually, on a weekly basis, brands now come to me, which is really flattering, very exciting. And like last month, I got flown out to Ethiopia to go and ride and shoot. And actually, I'm going to talk about one of those photographs in a minute, which I took with a drone. And then the ultimate compliment is actually then brands saying, well, actually, we enjoy your images because when I work with brands, I give them rights to use it on social media only, unless we pre-agreed permissions to use them commercially, i.e. beyond social media. And then brands would say, well, actually, that image is absolutely fantastic. We want to use it for our digital and print marketing campaign. And then you then get into the interesting world of obviously image licensing and sort of how much is your image worth? Well, it's obviously worth as much as someone is willing to pay. And that is a tricky number. It's really, really easy to kind of undervalue yourself and an image and what it's worth. And when I first started doing it, I was looking on places like Getty Images to see, well, how much a commercial image is worth. And I still priced myself lower than that, at sort of £1,200 for a digital and print campaign. But it could be worth £50,000 if it's the right image for a huge campaign. You just don't know. So I always take photographs as if like it was going to be put in a marketing campaign. Always take the highest quality shot. Always spend the time on editing. Put it in a gallery and then just start circulating the images, because you just never know. You might just take that one photograph which completely resonates with the brand, and then they'll want to commercially use it. So I just want to show you a few of the images which I've taken recently, which have kind of really excited me. The one you can see behind me, I'll start off with that one first. And here we go. So I'm just going to share my screen with you. So that is a picture. So that is a picture of the world famous Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. And I was riding up there with my bike, and I don't know if you can see the road splits where my cursor is, but there is actually a trail, a dirt trail, which ran or contoured along this hill. And riding along there, just looking around, I'm always hunting for a shot. And the light was just kind of coming over the hill perfectly. Some of the road was illuminated, some of it wasn't. And it just looked like it could be a very, very nice shot. So I stopped my bike, got my drone out. So I'm always like found a safe place to launch it. There's no one around. This was taken just last week. So no one around whatsoever. Popped the drone up and then moved the drone away to try and center the road on one of the towers of the Golden Gate Bridge. And I have to say, this is one of my favorite ever drone shots I've ever taken. In terms of print, it's come out absolutely brilliantly. I don't really print my own work to put at home, but I think that's going to have to be one of them. It's very, very exciting. Every now and again, you take a shot and think, you just like get really excited, and that's definitely one of them. Another shot which you've already seen was the one where I used the drone and it was just in front of my face. It was only just a few meters away, but you can see the clarity of the camera. It came out really well. And through using Lightroom to post edit it, you can bring out some of those colors as well. I always shoot my photographs in RAW, which basically means that the camera doesn't try and optimize, or the drone doesn't try and optimize the photograph for you. And so that came out really well. Another shot which is really very, very special to me, and that's this one. So this is me riding on the Great Wall of China. Few people have ever ridden on the Great Wall of China. This was a bit of a multi-year mission, if you can call it that. And I first saw the Great Wall of China when I was flying over towards Seoul in South Korea. Saw the Great Wall and I said to myself, look, I have to go and ride on it if I can. Reached out to a company in Beijing. They didn't know how to get to it, and over the months we came up with a plan. We went onto the DJI database, saw where we could basically pop up a drone. We were about 3 hours north of Beijing, 2 hours of scrumming rocks with the bikes. It was -12 as well, which actually is one of the reasons why it's so clear as well. And got this shot. Super excited. And you can see the wall going through all the way over these mountains, and forgetting the riding, and the riding was very, very special. Just to be there and to stand on the towers and see the Great Wall of China, where it just stretched on for as far as I can see over these mountains, was totally breathtaking. Incredible, absolutely incredible. And this shot here is another shot which I've taken. So this is the Stelvio Pass. It's probably one of the most famous cycling passes in the world. Very, very famous as well for drivers. It's going from the Swiss side into Italy, and this is one of 48 switchbacks. Came out really well. The greens was really lush. This was taken in June. Just been a load of rain as well. Managed to get this shot, which actually didn't really exist, but I wanted to sort of show just the structure behind it, and then a lone rider, and that's myself. So it was like a selfie. In terms of Instagram, on Strava's feed, it's got over 40,000 likes. It's been shared countless times. I would think it's got well over 1 million likes. It has to be one of the most liked photographs on Instagram from a cycling point of view. So pretty stoked about that. And I do sell a lot of prints of that as well. Earlier I was talking about Ethiopia and being asked to go away and to work on commercial shoots. And this is one of them. So we're in Ethiopia. Very few people ride in Ethiopia, which is why myself and my wife got invited out there to go and photograph it. And they said, oh, well, there's this incredible collection of switchbacks. You're going to be in heaven. And we get there and it was super bright. It's kind of lunchtime, really glaring down. And that's where appreciating light for what type of shot you can get with it. And that is exactly where a drone can be so useful. The light, ideally, you want it behind you to flood light into the subject. But even here, the light was very, very bright. It was very, very harsh. But I tried my best to get the drone positioned correctly, so I didn't have it overexposed in certain places, getting a bit of tilt on it as well. And this is the end result. Turned out really nicely. It's been in cycling magazines and also for the client which I was working for, which is Ethiopian Cycling and Ethiopian Airlines. So that's another really, really nice shot, and a nice shot of myself and my wife riding. So in terms of Instagram, I love it. I hate it. It's a platform though. It's a platform to share your images, your videos, your creativity. And if I'm honest, I wouldn't be here without it. So I owe a lot to Instagram. But like I was saying before, and it's really hard to not chase likes, that gratification that someone likes your work. to not worry about comments and reach and exposure and all that sort of stuff, because ultimately, there is a point where actually having a decent number of followers will actually open up other opportunities to you, because brands can obviously highlight their product through you, or it's just that kind of validation tick. So having a certain number of followers adds that sort of little bit of social proof that actually your work is decent. So I'm going to just show you my Instagram channel. My feed itself is, I would say, highly considered. So I kind of think about the posts which I put up. I try and vary them. There is a little bit of gameplay in terms of, every now and again I just have to put a certain shot in because it makes the content diverse, but also I need to put that in for my partners, etc. But my feed is highly considered. No iPhone shots, no unedited shots. If you're taking a drone shot, absolutely do not put it on there unless you've given it once over with the edit. The chances are you can make it just that little bit better, or make an average shot into something actually really quite nice, which is why I'm excited to work with Coptrz to take your photographs, and you can go out and take a really nice image, but if you haven't put that extra bit of post-edit detail into it, you can take a really nice image into something extraordinary and something which someone will pay for. So just looking through my feed, that's a drone shot which I put up yesterday. You can see that the Stelvio pass again. The Stelvio always does well, and then within that I've got two shots. So I've got a nice drone shot there of me getting up towards the top, and then that sort of lower down with the nice greens. And then a really interesting project, and all because of COVID-19 actually, it has made me think about, well, how can I make content in my house without going out? And one of those is actually respraying the bike. Never really thought about it. I had an old bike in the basement, thought, right, well, now's the time. I've been kind of thinking about it for ages. I'm going to go and get this bike, and I'm going to try and turn it into something much, much better and not spend too much on it. So initially it was all about trying to take off all the paint, which took hours and hours and hours, 8 hours of sanding, and eventually got it to the point where it was actually looking half decent. All the markings were off, and there we go. But I would encourage you to do that when you are taking content. It's always really nice to have a story behind it. So if you can try and get a bit of behind the scenes action of you setting up your drone or going to do something, then that adds real. It makes the story much more compelling as well. And it's nice to have bits which are really polished, but also nice to have bits which aren't polished. And you can see with this, even though I've got broadcast grade photographic and video equipment with an iPhone, it's the real deal, the real meal. So I'm just going to kind of scoot through this, and it's turned out pretty well. Almost finished, and hope to finish that off this week. So Instagram, main feed, make sure it's polished. Think about the photographs you can put on there. With your stories, be loose, be the real you. And you'll find actually that the people who follow your feed and like it will actually be quite different to the people who may view your stories and like your stories. For instance, on my stories, every day I have the marketing heads and social media heads of a huge number of the world's biggest outdoor photographic brands looking at my content. But they may not necessarily keep in touch with my feed because actually they follow 6,000 people, and also they can't go on and click that like because actually you're working with a brand which basically is conflicting with their brand. So story is very, very important as well. Do not neglect stories. So the Pifco is just the start of my journey. I'll be honest, that is exciting, but I'm all about the off-car 5 course. That is really, really exciting to me because that will help differentiate myself in terms of the level of qualification I'll have compared to everyone else with the Pifco qualification, but also the enhanced responsibilities and abilities it's going to give me the idea that actually I'll be able to fly above 120 meters or 400 feet, that's really exciting. In particular, if you want to take big, vast landscape shots, which I love to do, like big landscapes are kind of a real passion of mine. The idea of being able to remote or to work in more confined and more remote places where normally you wouldn't be allowed to go in with drones, and then be able to work with new and more exciting partners, that sounds really, really interesting to me. And the fact that it's an international rating as well, the fact I travel around the world and to have something which will be internationally recognised, and with the new EU changes as well, which I believe are now going to come in November, having the ability to fly drones around the world is really, really important to me, and to be able to do it legally and safely is, that's all I'm about. So really, really excited about the Off-Craft 5 course, that is for sure. If I could start it tomorrow, I would. So lastly, talking about, courses and taking your drone photography to the next level. This is really interesting to me because it's getting me thinking about all the things which I've learned either through research or just finding out myself, or even like finding out the hard way, in terms of like flying a drone when it's just too windy. The course is going to be really, really interesting. So there's a few things I want to cover. I want to cover fundamentally how to use your drone and the settings which it has to take the best possible picture from a technical point of view. So talking about like really in-depth things like, why you want to use a slower shutter speed, which is like when the aperture of your camera opens, and then stays open for longer, or where they go like really fast. So we're going to talk about shutter speed and how that can affect your photographs. We're going to talk about aperture and aperture basically will broaden or narrow what's in focus. So that's really important as well. Exposure levels, light, tone, contrast, shadows, just talking about, and composition, obviously, making sure that it's really well composed, your photograph, that actually the thing which you really want to highlight is highlighted by the way you position your drone, etc. So photography fundamentals for sure. And then I want to talk about flying your drone in different environments, mountains, coastal, urban, taking big landscapes, flying in challenging environments for you and your drone, and making sure that you fly your drone safely, but obviously you want to get the best possible shot as well. So talking about mission planning and all that sort of good stuff. And that will be a really practical based approach. So I'll be there in the mountains talking about what's going through my head to try and get the best possible shot in the environment which I'm in, and sharing all my expertise of flying mountains. And mountains are a big passion of mine. I spend a lot of time flying drones in mountains. And then going from using the drone, using in different environments, to then taking your photograph and then taking it to that next level, to take a good photograph to an exceptional photograph. Every photo which you see in a magazine, every photo which you see on, or video which you see on the Discovery Channel, has been edited. I kind of call them Disney shots because they're not, well, it's not a land of make-believe, but every shot will have had some post-photo edit to it, because you've gone to the effort of taking the photograph. So why not just bring out the blues of the ocean that a little bit more? Why not add a bit more contrast to the landscape, so you can see how rugged the rocks are around the mountains? And it can be as simple as just like one little tweak, but it can just elevate your photograph a few percent. And then on the flip side, you get photographs where you go, oh my gosh, that looks terrible, but you've kind of thought about it before. And behind me was one of those examples where I thought about the image before, but when you see the shot and you're like, oh my gosh, that kind of looks really washed out. It doesn't look great. With editing, you can rescue a shot. You can take a shot actually where you think, oh, actually no, it doesn't look very good, and you can make it look much, much better. So if you were at a commercial deadline or you had pressures and you went out and took a load of shots, and actually, you're a bit afraid of like giving them to the client because actually, they're not as good as you hope they would be, that's where the power of editing and the tips and tricks I can give you can help rescue a shot to make sure that you can deliver the best possible photographs to your client.